Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan Gheesling. Welcome to episode 57 of the podcast. Super excited you guys decided to tune in today, whether you're dialed in from Skokie, Illinois, taking the metro from St. Louis to Wilbuquerque, or walking your potbelly pig from here to Marquette. Either way, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all the feedback. A lot of DMs have been sliding in, and it means a lot to me. There were some nice messages in the community Discord, but I always read everything. All the feedback matters a lot to me, and it's always an interesting thing because I take it in one of two ways. Like I appreciate all the feedback. I read it all, and you ingest some of it, and you taste some of it differently. What I mean by that is I read all the feedback, and I kind of treat critical and positive feedback the same way for the most part. If I get a lot of the same critical feedback saying like, hey, you need to do this, hey, you need to do this, have you thought about changing this up? And this is like a common thing that a lot of people are saying, then I take that in a strong account. But in terms of like the positive and critical feedback, I take it with a grain of salt, right? If someone says, hey, I love this, I'm like, that's cool. And if someone's like, hey, I hate this, I'm like, that's cool. Like, I don't get too up or down on it. But when people say they really like something or they really dislike something and there's a lot of reinforcement of it, that usually causes me to make a change regarding something. But anyways, I want to talk about something that's, it's been a little bit different. And if you've been tuning in on Twitch and you've been following in the community and on Twitter and stuff, the schedule's been really close to normal, but not exactly normal lately. And so during the fall season, the fall season for me is very hectic. A lot of things. There's some moving parts, and the priority is keeping the show on pace and on track as much as humanly possible. And so this is probably the biggest change I'm making to the show in a long time. And I kind of got to go back in the day, because any changes we've made, it's funny. It wasn't like there was an abrupt change ever. It was just kind of like slow changes over time. It was like a gradual dissolving of whatever. So I remember back in the day when we first started the show, it started at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I think over a couple months it started at 1. And then kind of settled in at noon. And it's been at noon for, I think, the longest period of time. I'd probably have to say at least a year, maybe a year and a half. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So due to some scheduling stuff, I got to shift it a little bit. And whenever I start the show earlier or later, I always try to stay within the ballpark and let people know, meaning that, hey, the show's normally at noon. I'm not going to start a show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I try to be within like the strike zone, if you will. It may be a half hour later here, a half hour earlier there, or unless something's really off and it would be like a cancellation of a show, which is extremely rare, then that's when I'll do like a 7 p.m. start. Because to me, it's like, hey, is it better to not have a show at all or have a show at like a weird time? And so when that comes, the decision's always easy for me. Is like, hey, it may not be ideal, but it's better to have a show than no show at all. So anyways, so the change whenever I make a change too, if I take something away or change something, I like to add something, right? So it's like, was also something I kept in mind in this one, which is good because it's going to push me to be more efficient in other areas. But anyways, so the schedule change, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting the show at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we've been starting at 12, but this upcoming week, every show is going to start at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like anything else, it's a test, right? I'm going to see how it goes and, gauge on the feedback from there. Like any change, it takes time and things like that. But this is not a permanent change. It's like, hey, let's see how things go this week. So I'm essentially starting an hour earlier, but I'm going to end at the same time except for on Wednesday. So I know it's confusing already, but normally I go from 12 to 3. So now Mondays and Fridays, I'm going to start at 11 and at 3. So for all intents and purposes, it adds 2 hours to the show, right, on the week. So we start an hour earlier, but in the grand scheme of things, you're getting 2 more hours of the show. Plus, on Wednesday, I'll probably do a 3 to 3.5 hour show. So just if you need like a visualization, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, And on Wednesdays, we just end a half hour earlier, which is actually 30 minutes later. So now that I've thoroughly confused you, it's making the show essentially 1 hour longer, but starting 1 hour earlier. So I'm excited to try it for a bunch of reasons. One, I think adding an hour to the show, and I'm very, very cautious of doing that because I feel like 3 hours has been a really interesting and big sweet spot for me, where I feel like it's the art of diminishing returns from a entertainment standpoint and energy standpoint. I felt like around 3 hours for sure is like, hey, that's like peak performance. Because it's different. The way that we stream, it's like a show, right? And it's high energy and dialed in. And it's funny because I always think about it. I don't talk about it or ever think about it, but from the standpoint of, hey, I'm doing a lot of things at once, which I truly enjoy. It's like you're producing a show, you're running the soundboard, you're reading chat, you're playing a game, you're transitioning. It's like when you're doing a show, it's a lot of fun, and it's like there's like 6 cylinders running all at the same time. So I'm excited. I'm going to challenge to make sure that I keep that extra hour or the additional hour as the same level it is on the first or second hour. Which also gives us some room to mess with the platter as well, in terms of maybe adding in a game that people wanted to see. So I think it'll be a positive change, but I'm going to be listening to feedback very, very closely throughout this week. So bottom line, we're going to test to see if it works. If people like it, cool. And if not, we can always revert back to the old way for the most part. Another thing that's been on my mind lately, because you guys know I've talked about, maybe you haven't, or maybe you don't remember, but there's really only one podcast that I listen to, or one person's content that I consume regularly, because to me it's the reason I listen to it when I work out or when I have a really long drive, because it helps me get ideas and helps me continue to push things forward with the show and the community, is Gary Vee's podcast. And he's really big on TikTok right now. And I don't know a ton about TikTok. I've been messing around with it a little bit. Tyler, the podcast producer, has been messing around with it a lot. And I feel like it's something that I know that I want to start messing around with. And I don't know a ton about it, but it mixes like video content with overlaying songs. And it's like anything else. Like there's a Twitch culture, right? And about Kappa and Forehead and Pepe hands and all that. Like there's a culture to it, and there's something to, in the same regard, there's something to TikTok culture, and I don't know that yet, and I need to learn it and learn the system. But I think I'm gonna have some fun with it, and I think it's more of like a goofier platform right now. It definitely skews a lot younger, but anytime there's a new platform, the reason it's exciting to me is that it's something new to learn, and also a potential to reach new audiences and things like that. And it's cool, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately, because you guys know I treat everything we do here like it's full-time without truly being full-time. And I think for the first time ever, I'm like, hey, it would be, I don't want to say ever, because that's not entirely accurate, but I'm starting to think about what that would look like if we were to do things full-time, and how that would play out. It's such an interesting dynamic, because I feel like sometimes how I am internally, and I don't talk about this a lot, is like I don't, as much as I talk about going all in, like I have a lot of stuff going on, and I can't think of, I don't know, I'm pretty self-aware, but I don't know internally if that's because I like having a lot of different things going on, or if I'm hesitant to shove all the chips in on one thing, or if it's a combination of it. I don't know. But I think this move with changing the schedule is like, definitely, it's not a step towards going full time, because I don't want to start that narrative or anything like that, or like someone coming in Twitch chat saying full time pog or anything like that. But it is adding more to the show, or longer shows. So we'll see. I don't know. But anyways, so we got on a little TikTok rant there. So that's something I'm going to be messing around with in the upcoming week, and I'll report to you guys the next time we have a non-interview podcast like this. Another thing, speaking of the podcast, I got a DM from Tyler, the editor, that we had 100 iTunes reviews, which is pretty amazing. I think maybe on in like week 1 or week 2 of the podcast, we might have set a goal to have a number of iTunes reviews, and then at some point, to me, it became not important, not the number of reviews, because reviews are a great way to help spread the love for the podcast, whether you rate it and or review it, or you just rate it. Like, that's extremely helpful to the distribution of the show, which you directly have a hand in. So I think the more reviews it gets, the more apt it's able to show up when someone may type in like gaming podcast or whatever in iTunes. So that was kind of cool. I'm not huge. The numbers I'm into are not like, the huge ones, right? So maybe at some point we'll hit 100 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I don't know if that's the number that I would have like a celebration for. But that's definitely been on like in the back of my mind since I've started YouTube. But anyways, so that was cool. So to everyone that has left a review on iTunes, whether a review and or a rating, I appreciate it. That's a great way for you to turn your thumbs into digital currency for the show. So thank you guys so much for that. In terms of how things are going on YouTube, I got a message, and now it's interesting because when we first started the podcast, it was just kind of me, right? And now I was just gonna say I got a DM from Zane, the video editor, because I got another message from Zane, the video editor. So I'm like, now we have Tyler, Zane, and we have Cassie and Juice. Cassie and Juice are writers, and so it's like, yo, now there's like, it just kind of like snowballs, It's crazy to think. But anyway, Zane sent me a message, and he's like, hey, we're ahead of schedule on videos. And I think he dropped a pog. I'm like, yeah, we are. And it's a good feeling because when you're ahead on schedule on videos, and what I mean by that is that things are uploaded to YouTube, they're tagged, they're thumbnailed, they're scheduled out. And it's been a while where I've been consistently ahead, but when I can get ahead, like a day or 2 or 3, that's when more creative videos can come out, because then I'm not under the gun, self-imposed gun. I'm not under the self-imposed gun to like, okay, I got to record and get this thing up today by 11 a.m. so people can get the Mario Maker video. And so for me, I think the biggest struggle, which, I say tongue in cheek, but for me it is just efficiency of time and making sure when I have the time to record the videos, when I'm in the office, I got to maximize that time making videos. And I feel like that's an area that I've gotten better at since I've started. But still, like, if you're like, hey, Dan, you identify one area of your life and how things work that needs a major overhaul, it would be 100% time efficiency. And for me, it's everything from the way when I get myself in trouble is when I stay up late recording videos, and then I'll wake up a little bit later than normal. And it's like you do that one night to try and get ahead. It really isn't getting ahead because it puts you behind on the macro level. It gets you ahead on the micro level, but on the macro level, it's not sustainable. So, it's just really, and as much as I don't like the word, because it's not really discipline, it's just staying focused. I think a discipline, it's like, hey, you're doing something you don't want to do. And I know that may not be the most accurate description of discipline, but it's more like staying focused. It's like you're staying focused on your off time or without getting distracted so that you can continue to do the things that you enjoy to do. So that's something I think I'll be battling and improving upon, in the next year, and that's one of the focuses, because I think that will help push things kind of to the next level. And so I'm super excited about that, and really, if you want to get super granular, one of the big L's I've taken in the past month is, it's like when I plan ahead and when I fill out, I have this daily planner, then like things are good. When I'm like the night before, it's good. And then, but what happened was, I think I got like a 2-month planner or a 3-month planner. I finished it, and then I just never ordered another one. So I've been operating for like 3 weeks without one. And so I finally got one of those, and it's like, well, Dan, just order another planner. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. But it just, when I'm like running from thing to thing to thing, you kind of forget to get the planner. But then if you reverse engineer everything, it's like, hey, well, if you had the planner, then you wouldn't be running from thing to thing to thing. And it sounds, when you talk about it, it sounds obvious. But when you're so used to kind of just grinding and just going and going and going and not taking a step back, you can get lost in some of that stuff. So the moral of the story is the videos are ahead of schedule. And I went to wrap up Undermine and finish the Undermine series. And I'm like, okay, hey, this is the finale video. And I'm recording the finale video. I'm like, man, this game's still really fun. And we made some serious progression. It's like, all right, maybe I'll do like the finale on top of the finale. So that's going to be wrapped up this week. Like I said, in a position now, being a couple days ahead, where I think I'm going to, sprinkle in some Tarkov videos, which I think is good. It's good on so many facets, because I've been getting some feedback on YouTube saying, hey, Dan, we haven't seen a Tarkov video in a while. And I think people are ready for one, and I'm also kind of fresh in terms of ideas and things that I want to do, and some more goofier ones, and even some that don't even revolve around gameplay that have been bouncing around. So I think this will be a good week to execute on those videos. Speaking of feedback from YouTube, I've tried something this week and got called out on it twice, and we had a really interesting Mario Maker 2 level run on Twitch last week, and it was so interesting. I'm like, hey Zane, can we clip this thing, edit it down, and give it the black and white NES treatment? And essentially what that means is anytime I get deep into a level and it goes over an hour, then I edit it down personally to like 20 minutes, and speed up the redundant parts, and get like an hour or hour and a half long Mario Maker level down into like a 15-20 minute video that is more entertaining than if just watching the 90 minutes. So I did that, and I got some feedback on YouTube because I put that up on Channel 1. And a couple said, hey, Dan, Channel 1 is supposed to be for exclusive YouTube stuff, not redone Twitch stuff. And it's been interesting because on a whole level, like Channel 2, which is nothing but Twitch VODs, it has done really well. And I'm 100%, and I know we talked about it, 20 episodes ago, about making the move to do that, maybe even longer, 30 episodes ago. And it was 100% the right move, because it's like it gives people a place to go watch the shows as easily as humanly possible. And I feel like we've done that on Twitch, meaning we've brought Twitch to YouTube, but we haven't brought YouTube to Twitch, which is a whole nother story that I got to talk to Zane about. But so it's just something I experimented with. And because I know not everyone on YouTube Channel 1 watches Twitch, and I know not everyone on Twitch watches YouTube, so it's like kind of that interesting thing where it's like, all right, you have a spot for people to watch Twitch on YouTube that don't watch it. But what about the people on Channel 1 that don't watch Twitch? I guess that's kind of the egg or the chicken thing. But in hindsight, it made me think, all right, hey, maybe I should stop putting edited Twitch content on Channel 1, or maybe just do it every now and then. But I did respond to those individuals. I haven't checked to see if they responded back, because I just want to know if it's causing issues for that person. I'm like, I don't want that to happen. But the point of doing it is a couple reasons. One, I thought it was a really entertaining run, and two, it may light some people up to watch Twitch that normally don't watch Twitch because it was taken from there. So it's something that I go back and forth with, and I don't have the answer for it yet. But based on the feedback, it's something I'm going to evaluate and make a decision on. But for now, I won't be putting any more, edited Twitch content on YouTube. Although today, the day of recording this, edited WoW video hit the channel as well. But that's beyond the point. Another thing that's been going on. There's this really weird thing. I guess it's not that weird, that I like about Twitch. And it just, for whatever reason, it's like one of the things where I don't want to say I get a chemical reaction. That's not the right answer. But I get like this weird, like, kind of like head nodding feeling when I see this happen. And from time to time, when I'm done streaming, I'll leave Twitch up, right? Or the windows I have when I have Twitch up. So I'll have, the chat bot, the voting bot, OBS or XSplit, depending on OBS. And then I'll have a window pulled up on my monitor, on the second monitor, that says, hey, this person followed, this person subscribed. And I don't know, for whatever reason, like, and it's been happening more often than not, is that when the show's offline and people are still subscribing to Twitch, I'm like, I get in depth thinking about what's going on with that person when they're doing it. I'm like, either they're watching a VOD, or maybe they're watching a VOD on Twitch and really enjoyed it, or maybe they watched a VOD on Channel 2 and really enjoyed it, or maybe, hey, they're just like, hey, my Amazon Prime was up and I want to make sure that I re-up to Dan. And those are like, I don't know what the psyche is or whatever the person's going through when they subscribe to a channel's offline. I just really truly appreciate it. And it makes me think about stuff in a very different way. I'm like, it's like a really cool feeling that someone, when you're not live, thinks enough about the show or what we're doing to do that. And not that it's any different at all from when I'm streaming and people subscribe. Because and for me, you guys always know it's such a long-term thing, right? It's not a short-term thing. And when someone subscribes on Twitch when you're streaming, it's just like a thumbs up or a vote of confidence, like, hey, what you're doing, is really enjoyable. And sometimes people even put a message in as to why they like what's going on or what they particularly like. So to have someone do that when the show's not even on, is just something that, it's like one of those things for me. I'm like, I get like really in depth about trying to think about it because it means a lot to me. And I don't know why. It's just one of those things. It's like, well, hey, some people like peppermint gum over bubble gum. I think it's like one of those things. I don't know. But I just wanted to share that with you because when I went to sit down and record the podcast, I'm like, yo, like a couple people did that. Like, what were they thinking when they did that? So if you're one of those people, DM me because I want to know. Outside of that, Nintendo Direct was this past week. And I didn't even know about it. I knew about it the day before. Someone in the community said, hey, Dan, are you going to watch Twitch Direct? And at the time, I think I was out to eat. But I knew it was on, so I pulled it up on my phone. I think on the drive home. But I was really excited for it because you guys know I'm really into Mario Maker. And there's a part of me that was hoping for some Mario Maker 2 DLC. And I was a little bit surprised that there was nothing announced, because a Nintendo Direct, in case you guys don't know, it's essentially like their quarterly or biannually or however they do it. They're like PR conference where they say, hey, here's what's coming new, here's what you can expect, here's the release dates. And there was just nothing for Mario Maker 2. And part of me, I thought we'd get something, but then the other thought, I'm like, well, hey, the game is probably going so well, they want to save that in their back pocket for a moment when maybe, hey, the game needs a boost. I don't know. That was just strategically, that's how I looked at it. And I don't even look at it as like, hey, it's not done, because I mean, doing DLC for Mario Maker 2, it's like if I hit the bruh button, it's like whatever they do is going to be like cosmetic, I would imagine, or maybe upgrade the multiplayer stuff. But anyways, so it wasn't that, so I was a little surprised a little bit. But there was some cool stuff announced. I think Animal Crossing looked really cool. And I got to tip the cap, man, to Pokemon Go. I would say I've had no interest in Pokemon because I bought one of the Pokemon Red game for the 3DS. That was my first one I ever played. I want to say it's Ruby or something like that. Maybe not Ruby, but whatever it was. It was like the first ones to come out for the 3DS, the XL ones maybe. And I liked it and got kind of into it. I think I played it when I traveled, but didn't get super into it. But I've been playing Pokemon Go. And now I'm like into it. Like now I'm like, okay, hey, I'm starting to get some of the lore. I understand like what each, I don't know all of them, but I know some of them. And I'm to the point now where like, hey, I kind of have an idea what's Gen 1. And you guys know I'm into trading cards. I'm like, yo, it'd be cool to, like I'd be fired up to open up like Gen 1 packs on the show. But I have no idea. Like I'd be more fired up to open up Pokemon Go trading cards on the show than Magic now. Unless it's like Magic Revised, like the older stuff. Just I feel like I have like a little bit understanding. But anyway, so Nintendo Direct, I think they talked about a new Pokemon coming out, which I don't know. Like I just worry about playing a game like that and then it being like super Resident Sleeper. But I don't know. I don't know. It's like one of those things that maybe it'll be like a random thing we try in the show on a Friday. So anyway, so they announced that. Animal Crossing, it looks exciting. A Tetris 99 DLC And in particular, I think like you have to beat it once and you unlock a super hard mode, and there's like Zelda themes and stuff you can download. So that kind of reignited that spark to do some Tetris 99 stuff. And I don't know. I just think Nintendo has won this whatever console wave we're in. I feel like they've won it. It's the only one for me as a primary PC gamer that's like, hey, there's a reason to own this console, and they continue to give you reasons. Where I can't necessarily say that in the past about what Nintendo's done. Whether the Wii or Wii U, they haven't really hit it. This one they hit it. And I'm just excited. Whenever Nintendo has stuff, it's like, I'm excited because it's going to be good, and I feel like they're kind of, they took the cap off their content creation stuff, and meaning that before you couldn't like make YouTube videos in Nintendo games. They just didn't let you do it. Where since they've done that, it's just, I don't know, man. It strikes a chord with me because that's where a lot of my interest is in, because that's where I started really playing games. So that was all super exciting. And, so I think you can maybe keep an eye out for some Tetris 99 stuff that's going to be coming out. And then in addition to that, one other thing that happened randomly this past week was I had to move a Wednesday show to night. Just something happened. And so whenever I stream from home, the quality is a little bit different. And the games I can play are different because I don't have a two streaming PC setup, and the computer I have is like, I'd say middle of the road. So I could play console games and like indie games. And so I ended up playing Madden BR, which is super out of left field, and people really enjoyed it. And it just kind of made me super grateful of having the support of the community and people being there on a random show night, watching a random game and still having fun with it. It just was it was a special moment just because it was so random. And, just another moment where I'm super grateful. So outside of that, it's been a good week. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. Thank you guys for all the support. As always, I hope you learned, laughed, or were entertained or distracted from this podcast. And as always, I'll see you guys next week, Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed the minis this week, and have a great week. I'll see you guys next week. Later.